the way it could play out would be, riders come in to Rivendell, and it's like, oh, excitement, what's going on? And whatever news gets delivered, immediately riders go out. Like, one rider came in, and like a whole troop of elves all go out, including Eladan and Elrond.
Eladan and Elrond.
Yeah, like, we're on this. Let's go kill some orcs.
Yeah.
And it's clear what's happening there, because that would answer. That's what Elrond can say. I'm not doing nothing. Like, yes, I'm sitting here in this nice protected little valley, but I don't think that I'm giving no thought to the rest of the world. Or like he can make that argument. Like, yeah, I know that's happening right now because that's what I do. Is they come tell me and I take down.
Well, and it's not, and what he does is not just a physical thing of controlling territory.
Right. He can't say anything about his ring.
No. I'm not saying that. But it's more than just the control of territory, what he does. Mm-hmm. What he does is he offers a place, because like you never actually get any sense that there's people who can find Rivendell who get turned away when they get there.
Right.
There's never any sense that it's not like Lothlorien where if you show up at Lothlorien, you stand a good chance of getting shot.
Right. That is true. That is true. Where Boromir wanders into Rivendell uninvited, and Elrond's like, "Great, glad you're here. We're having a council. You should join."
Right. It's a place of learning. It's a place of advice. It's a place. Even though you shouldn't go to the elves for advice.
Elrond's the exception to that.
Yes. It's a place. It's a place of safety and healing.
Mm-hmm.
For the people who really need it. Not just, I'm not talking about like, random traders making their way down the road, but the people who are doing the job of protecting Middle Earth in the north.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are always able to find succor in Rivendell.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to draw that wider story in, especially in this episode, because at least the first 4 episodes, it's just been in Rivendell, and there's been nothing outside of Rivendell.
Right.
And then with last episode having all the flashbacks to her husband's death, it's clear that she didn't grow up in Rivendell.
Right.
She's from outside.
Right.
And like we kind of probably already knew that, but you see it now.
Yes.
And I think now's the time to say, all right, what is going on in the rest of the world, and what is Elrond's relationship to that?
So Gilrond's going to basically challenge the Valinor impulse.
Right.
And, Elrond's going to basically make the case that, you know what, it's not my job to go out there and tell everybody how to run how to run their life. Like, I could do that. I could totally do that. But
that's Melkor's impulse.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Elrond, of all the characters Tolkien wrote, is the least willing to tell you what to do with your life.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is why it's a shame they made him who he was in the film. But anyway, that's another story. Because that's the thing is, in the film, he uses flat out manipulation on his own daughter. What?
I said, one of you must do this.
Yeah, and then that, yeah. But like sorry. I will stop complaining. That's not.
I enjoyed the movies. Sorry.
I enjoyed the movies as well. I don't enjoy Elrond in the movies.
I hear you. I don't necessarily disagree. I had to at some point basically put it aside and say, this is not going to be the same.
It's what it is. Ignore it.
It is its own thing. And I had to once I came to peace with that, I was okay.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would never have survived elves showing up at Helm's Deep. There was no way that I would have been able to handle that. That's
probably not up there on the absolute worst things in this films for me, but
no, but it was like biggest.
What
are you talking about?
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway,
Yeah, so we should establish what Rivendell is all about in this episode.
Right.
So that's what purpose the frame is.
Okay, so good. Okay, so we get a rider or two coming in. Maybe they're not in the best of shape. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're human.
They are.
Yeah.
These are, you know,
they're dirty humans.
Okay. Yeah.
In comparison.
Yes, because they came from the wilderness and they maybe been riding hard for a few days, and they're
They look like Strider does when he shows up in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Although I do love that line when the hobbits try to make Strider feel better, like, oh, I'm sure we'll look the same after we've been laying in ditches for a few weeks, and he's like, it's got to take more than that to make you look like me. It's like, try 30 years, kids. But yes, so they should look like that. They're woodsman types.
So do we have riders go right back out, or do we save that to the end?
I feel like it should be a pretty instantaneous response.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I mean,
the thing is that it does kind of take the teeth out of.
But maybe she didn't see that happen. Like I said, this should all be Estelle's point of view of seeing the riders going out. Okay. So maybe she's not even aware that happened.
And maybe the riders didn't go. Maybe the riders that came in didn't go right back out. So she's just made contact with them, maybe.
Oh, and heard about what happened and didn't hear about the result. And maybe the riders going back out are way too late to help.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because, I mean, realistically, they're not going to show up and stop whatever bad thing happened. Like, if a village got raided, sacked, set on fire, and someone rode to Rivendell to get help, like, by the time you ride back from Rivendell, I mean, at the very least, you're talking the next day, and whoever did that is not
a raiding party and murderize them, but that doesn't bring the dead people back. Yeah.
Right. So the damage was done. So that can be her point of, see, you're here removed. Yeah, sure, you responded, but that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Victim. Yeah. So I think that would be a little bit stronger from her point of view.
Makes sense. All right. I mean, it's kind of why people, kind of stopped carrying weapons, because, back in the Middle Ages when, the Night's Watchman, he could even see a crime happening and not get there in time to stop it. Today that it's not like that. If a police officer sees a crime happening, chances are they can do something about it.
Yes. I live in Baltimore City. Mm-hmm. We have about a homicide a day here.
I live in Philadelphia. I understand.
Right. I'm about to say it's not. Yeah. But agreed that if it's happening right in front of you, there's something you can do about it. Whereas if you're unarmed and there's any kind of delay or distance involved, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. So rider comes in. Riders go out.
Estelle sees the riders.
Yeah.
Ran to the messengers that came in.
Yeah. Does he want? I mean, of course he wants to go. There's no way he doesn't want to go.
Estelle? Yeah. He could express that, but everyone laughs at him. I mean,
yeah, no. There's no way he's going. Because nobody's going to see that notion.
Right. Okay, so he sees the riders come in, and they get off their horse and go talk to people.
Yeah.
And maybe Estelle's like hanging out with the horses because, horses are fun.
Yeah.
And then the elves all come out with their horses, or to get their horses or something. And he's like, oh, can I go with you? And they're like, no, kid, stay here. It's a serious adult business.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, okay, I'll just stay with horses. Fine. But Gilryan could have also seen the riders come in and followed the riders, so she at least overheard part of the report of what happened. Sends the Son of Elrond out. So she knows what's really going on. And Estelle's like, horses, adventure, fun things, not village got destroyed. Because I feel like people would somewhat protect him from that knowledge.
I wouldn't tell a 10-year-old that was happening either.
But if the 10-year-old standing there, would you intentionally not say it in front of him if you're a stranger who doesn't know this 10-year-old? It might be more important to deliver your message. You might not worry about what he hears. You know what I mean? Like, So I think we should just keep it out of the way so it's not an issue.
Oh, no, okay. I misunderstood what you were going for. Yeah, no, I agree.
Right. He's interested in the horses, and that's enough for him.
Right. So
he seems like a horse guy.
Can I help you? He's standing by the table. It's got. Anyway, that's my main character. All right, so, okay, so all right, so we gotta get to the story. So how do we get from this into the story?
Elrond is not involved in the writer's situation at all.
Well,
I mean, maybe. Yeah. So he has nothing to do at this point, and it's time for Estelle's lesson. So Estelle goes back for the lesson, and they have a private lesson without other people around this time, which is the whole story that we're going to do. And then at the end of the lesson, Gilray knows where Elrond is because she knows where Estelle is. So Estelle gets up to leave his lesson, and Gilray's at the door like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those guys who just came in today told me about all the people who died out in such and such town, and so she goes into her thing. So we bookend the lesson, but it's not like the lesson is meant to connect to the event. It just kind of has to.
Yeah.
Because TV. Would that be okay, or is that too hokey to have okay.
Yeah, I mean, especially if she catches him alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this stuff that's been building that she's kind of like not pushed on because there's other people around and she's being appropriately respectful. A lot of that's going to come out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that we can definitely work with that. And I feel like that, like getting individual lines out of that's going to be fairly simple. All right, so let's go back to ancient primordial Arda again. So, oh wow, we're making fantastic time. Okay.
So we should pick up pretty much exactly where we left off with everyone standing around accusing each other in the aftermath of the lamps coming down. And maybe even a voiceover from Elrond of, at the time of the fall of the lamps, blah, blah, blah. Like, just to
get
put everyone exactly where we were. Yeah. Yeah. But once we're back in, it's exactly where we left off. So Ulmo has accused Melkor. Melkor has thrown Arian under the bus. And that happened. Did that happen last time?
Yes. Yeah, both of those things happened. And then like Arian's like completely caught off guard. So and then when
she wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Like her God virtually, like the person she looked up to the most just completely
falsely accused her. Yeah.
And so
and her shock and her reaction should be what other people are being like, yeah, that doesn't sound like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously Ulmo doesn't buy it.
Right.
Varda doesn't buy it. I don't think Aule's Aule's worked with Melkor pretty closely. He doesn't know Arian.
He doesn't what?
He doesn't know Arian well. Like, he doesn't know her like he knows Melkor. They've been buddies. They've been working together.
Right.
So maybe Aule doesn't dismiss Melkor's accusation out of hand. Like almost
Right.
like, what? Are you kidding?
Right. Whereas Ole just more like troubled and thoughtful and like, oh, really? That would happen? Wait a minute. Like he's going to think it through. He's going to
right.
see if that works. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I feel like because Arian if Arian's injured when she arrives, it gives us kind of a way out.
Mm-hmm.
That because it doesn't have to be resolved right now.
Right.
You know, maybe Varda steps in, the wise wife steps in, and you know, maybe kind of like takes Manwë aside and says, you know, look, we'll figure this out, but she's hurt. We need to take care of. You know, she can't do this right now.
And Arian is going to switch allegiance from Melkor to Varda, so having Varda be the one to step in on Arian's behalf works for me. Anyway.
No, I think that yeah.
Okay.
Because who else?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so Varda kind of pulls Arian aside.
Okay, so Varda is taking care of Arian, but also got Manwë's attention for all of that. Yeah. Melkor is going to have to do his dramatic exit of, fine, I see you all think so poorly of me. This is just like that time when you accused me of hurting people, and it was really that awful Ungoliants. For all you know, she's the one who brought the lamps down. And I don't know why you always insist on pointing fingers at me, but I can tell when I'm not welcome. So stomp, stomp, stomp.
So peace.
Yeah.
So peace.
Yeah, peace out. So yes, dramatic exit by Melkor, who then can go find his little Balrog buddies, and we can see that that was all show and a front, which we expected at this point. And he's like, "Good job, excellent, my little minions."
Yeah. So the question is going to be how we're going to get people, because if he storms out by himself, how do we get people to go with him?
Well, at this point, they don't, because I feel like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So he's either got to come back.
Oh, right.
Or somebody, we have to kind of raise somebody up into the foreground to go out there.
Okay. Ole can go after him. Not right away, but when we need him to come back, Ole can be like, look, I know you're upset back there. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I'm upset over the lamps too. I know it's a shame that all our hard work went to waste like that, but you know, we can rebuild and we're going to have a discussion about this. Please come back and join the discussion. I feel like
there's nobody else. Nobody else is getting him back in.
Yeah. So like Ole is the kind of person who overlooks personal flaws in others. To a point. Like he's not gonna hold stuff against somebody. He doesn't hold a grudge. He's not that kind of guy. He's also the one who's most hurt by the destruction of the lamps, so it's really hard to see him being the conciliatory.
But remember, we got to get Ole to the point where he feels threatened enough by Melkor to be taking that into account when we get to the dwarves.
Okay, well, here's another suggestion, which is going to be probably even worse, but Myron. If we want someone to go sweet talk Melkor to bring him back into the fold, he worked on the lamps with Ole, with Melkor. He understands the guy.
Yeah. Maybe well, okay. Actually, you know what? This is not worse. This is better. This is actually way better because Myron comes to Melkor with the appropriate attitude.
Right.